My name is Denise, and I'm 34 years old. When I was 9 years old, I sat at my parents' dinner table and watched my father praise my older cousin's report card for 10 straight minutes while my own report card, sitting folded in my lap, went completely unmentioned. I had gotten 3 A's that semester. Nobody asked. I remember the sound of my fork scraping the plate, because it was the only sound I made. That night I learned something that stayed with me for 25 years, being good was never enough. Somebody else's good would always be louder. For 20 years, I told myself I was secure, that I didn't need applause. I built a quiet life, a steady job, a small apartment I paid for myself, a peace that didn't depend on anyone clapping for me. I thought I had finally outgrown that little girl at the dinner table. I was wrong. She was still there, just quieter, waiting to see if it would happen again. Then I met Marcus. Marcus was 36, an electrician, and the first person who ever noticed the small things. On our third date, he remembered I took my coffee with exactly 1 sugar, no cream, because I'd mentioned it once in passing. He wrote it on a napkin so he wouldn't forget. I still have that napkin, tucked in a drawer. For 6 years of marriage, Marcus made me feel like I didn't have to compete with anyone to be worth noticing. He was steady. He was kind. He was, I thought, the one person who had never once made me feel like an afterthought. That's why this hurt so much. Marcus had been working closely with a coworker named Priya for 8 months, on a big commercial contract that ate up his evenings. He talked about her constantly. At first it seemed harmless. Then it became proud. Priya finished the panel install in half the time the last guy did, he said one Tuesday over breakfast. She's the only one on the crew who actually double-checks her math, he said 3 days later, laughing, shaking his head like he still couldn't believe it. I said nothing. I told myself it was nothing. Coworkers talk about coworkers. That's what I kept repeating to myself, quietly, every time his voice changed when he said her name. Then came our 6th wedding anniversary. We booked a table at the same small Italian restaurant where we got engaged 7 years ago. His parents were there. My sister was there. 12 people total, candles flickering on the table, the smell of garlic and warm bread in the air. 40 minutes into dinner, his father raised a toast to 6 wonderful years. Marcus, glass in hand, turned it into something else entirely. I gotta say, work's been incredible lately, he smiled, looking around the table. I've got this coworker, Priya, smartest person I've ever worked with. Seriously, she's out there running circles around guys with twice her experience. I actually look forward to Mondays because of her. The table laughed. His mother said, "Oh, that's wonderful, dear." Nobody noticed he had just spent our anniversary toast praising another woman for 2 full minutes, while my own glass sat untouched in my hand. I sat there calm, the way I'd learned to sit at my father's table 25 years ago. Under the table, my hands pressed flat against my knees so they wouldn't shake. Here's what Marcus didn't know. 3 weeks earlier, while going through our finances out of habit, not suspicion, I found a pattern of late-night transfers to an account he'd called a work training course. I didn't confront him right away. I printed the statements and put them in a folder at my office desk. I wasn't ready to use it yet. I just believed in being prepared before being loud, the same way I always had. My sister noticed my face before anyone else did. She reached under the table and squeezed my hand once, a silent question, "Are you okay?" I squeezed back once, meaning, "Not yet, wait." Marcus pulled up a group photo on his phone and passed it around the table like he was showing off a new car. "That's her, Priya. Honestly, Denise, you'd love her. She's got this drive I haven't seen in anyone in years." That was the moment. Not the bragging. Not the laughing. It was him saying my own name while telling everyone how much he admired somebody else. The table waited for me to laugh along, the way I always did. I set my fork down gently. No clatter, no drama. I looked at Marcus and said 6 words. "I found the transfers, Marcus." "Explain." The table went silent. His mother's fork froze midair. His father set down his wine glass without drinking from it. My sister sat still, watching him, waiting. Marcus opened his mouth twice before anything came out. "Denise, that's not what you think." "I haven't told you what I think," I said, calm and even. "I only told you what I found." He looked around at his parents, hoping one of them would rescue him. Neither moved. His father, a quiet man who rarely spoke up, finally asked, "What transfers, son?" Marcus's jaw tightened. For a moment I almost felt sorry for him, not because he was innocent, but because I understood the wound underneath it. Marcus was the overlooked middle child of 3 brothers, always trying to prove he was exceptional at something. Being praised at work, being the one who discovered the smartest coworker in the building, gave him an importance he never felt at home growing up. It didn't excuse what he did. But I recognized the shape of it, because I carried one just like it. "It's not what it looks like," he said. "It was a joint course fund. For both of us." "I was going to tell you." "After 6 months of transfers?" I asked. "After an anniversary toast where you praised her for 2 minutes and never once mentioned me?" Nobody at the table spoke. The waiter, coming to refill the bread basket, quietly backed away toward the kitchen. His mother's hand went to her chest. "Marcus, is this true?" He didn't answer. That silence said everything. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I had spent 25 years learning to sit still while someone else got the applause, and for the first time, I used that stillness as a weapon instead of a shield. "I'm not doing this here to embarrass you," I said. "I'm doing it here because you did the same thing to me, in front of everyone, without even realizing it." His father nodded slowly, like something had finally clicked into place for him too. "She's right, son." His mother quietly pulled his hand off the table, the way a parent does when they're disappointed, not angry. Nobody defended him. Not one person at that table. 3 weeks later, Marcus and I sat down at our own kitchen table, the same one where he'd once written my coffee order on a napkin. He admitted the transfers had gone toward gifts and dinners with Priya outside of work, though he swore nothing physical had happened. I believed that part. It didn't make it hurt less. I didn't scream at him. I didn't throw him out that night. Instead, I gave him one boundary, clearly and fairly, 30 days to decide what kind of marriage he actually wanted, one built on honesty, or none at all. I wasn't interested in punishing him. I was interested in the truth, finally, out in the open, after months of quietly carrying it alone. He chose honesty. It took months of hard conversations, and I won't pretend every day since has been easy. But something shifted the night I said those 6 words out loud. I stopped being the girl at her father's table, quietly waiting to be noticed. I became the woman who spoke once, clearly, and let the silence do the rest. 2 months later, we sat at that same Italian restaurant again, just the 2 of us this time, no audience, no toasts to anyone but each other. Marcus lifted his glass and said my name first, and only mine, and meant it. If you've ever sat at a table where someone else's praise, someone else's shine, felt louder than your own worth, I want you to hear this. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to compete to be loved correctly. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is sit quietly, gather the truth, and speak it once, calmly, when it matters most. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're clarity. And the people who truly value you will meet you in that clarity, instead of running from it. If this story felt familiar to you in any way, if you've ever needed 6 words of your own, hit subscribe. Every story on this channel is for someone who needed to hear it today.